As we have already discussed what is the role of TestNG annotations and the sequence in which the methods are called when we write the annotations, and then we have discussed how to uh, make the dependent test cases, how to set the priority, and what is the data provider annotation, and how to pass the data using the data provider annotation. So today I will be making a testing framework, a simplified testing framework in which we will be covering all the things which we have already done up till now, and I will be writing everything again so that everything is integrated together. That is reports, your screenshot, your external XPath, your dependent test cases, your test ng annotation, everything will be added together. So today is a comprehensive example in which I will be covering each and everything which we have done up till now. So first of all, again I am creating a Marvin project. That is my first thing which we have to do, and create a simple Marvin project. Click on next. You can give the name of the project. Say I can give the name as say evening, say evening framework. Copy the name and paste it in the artifact ID. Paste it in the name. Give any description which you want. Parent project is empty. Click on finish, and the Marvin project is the first step whenever you are creating a Selenium framework using the TestNG. That is the first step. Now in the evening framework, we have to add the dependencies for Selenium, for Excel connectivity, for taking the screenshot, for generating the log and report. So I will copy it from my previous project because that we have already discussed. So I will copy all the dependencies. I will copy from my previous project. Dependencies I have added, copied from my previous project and added to my current project. So we have discussed in our previous classes all these dependencies for the report generation, logs, screenshot, Excel connectivity, and Selenium. Save. And now we have to build our project. Select the project name, go to the project, click on clean, and clean project will build the project. Okay. Now we have to add the TestNG library to our project. Right click on your on your project folder, go to build path, add libraries, and select TestNG library, and TestNG library will be added. After that, like in our previous project, we have created different packages: core, Excel, external XPath, logs, report, screenshot, and test cases. So again, in my current project, that is evening framework, I am creating the packages in src test Java by the name of same core package, then Excel package, then external XPath. Because we have used this particular format, so I am following that particular format only so that you can relate with what we have done. Again, a new package, and I will name it as same external XPath. external XPath, I think X is small only. Okay, external XPath. You can give any name, but I am using because I will be using those files which we have already created. So that's why I'm using the same name. Otherwise, you can create any name. Then logs we are not creating. So logs I will not be using. I will be using the reports only. So again, a new package I will give the name as reports, and then screenshot, okay, and test cases. Okay, so like we have created the packages before, similarly I have created the packages, and again in my core, right click, go to this TestNG and create TestNG class. In this TestNG class, I will create the class by the name of page, like we have already done, and this is called page object model. And here I'll be adding two annotations, that is before test and after test. As I told you, it is not compulsory to add all the annotations. I've already explained in my previous examples how these annotations work and how you can call them. So it is 100% flexible as per your requirement. But as a demonstration today, I will be using these two annotations, that is before test and after test only. As I told you, before test will be called at the beginning of the test, and when all the tests are executed, then after test will be called. I told you that in my page.java, I will not use @test method, because @test method I will be using in my test cases. So here I have created two methods. The first method that will be called is @before method. So here I will give the name of this particular method. You can give any name, say open browser only. And in this open browser, what I want a string browser. I want a string URL. Then I also want to initialize the report. So again, I will write report name, that is at the beginning of the test. I want to initialize the report also. So string browser, string URL, string report name, and I told you that you can skip the test by passing the true or false. So I also want to pass the key, whether I want to run this test or I want to skip this test. So I have taken the four parameters: browser, URL, report name, and the key. Again, I am repeating, it is flexible. Two-person can make two kind of the testing framework as per their need. It's not fixed thing. It's up to you. Okay. I'm just giving you just a simple demonstration. And in my previous lectures, you can watch. I have discussed about all the annotations. So today, I'm just making a simple project. As I told you that when we are passing the parameters, then you have to use this @parameters, which is compulsory. @parameters. And within curly brackets, you have to write the, and where this is one more is very important, the order should be same, like here browser, URL, report name, key. This is the order. So similar, in the same order it will pass the values. So you have to give the same order, that is browser, then URL, then report name, and then key. At the rate parameters we have to import from the TestNG library. Now, if the key is true, we have to run the test. Otherwise, we have to skip the test. So we'll check if boolean dot parse boolean key. It means I am converting this string key to the boolean value, and if it is not true, not, then we have to throw new skip exception, skip test. It will skip this test, or otherwise, if it is true that and false, it means we do, and true means we have to run the test. Then it means we have to open the browser and initiate the report. So again, I have already discussed how to initialize the report. I will copy it from my previous project only. I will throw the exception, throws exception, and then like we have done in my previous example, how to make a report. That again you can watch my previous lecture. So I'm copying this extend reports as a global variable, and again I'm copying web driver as a global variable we are defining, and as static variables, so that I can use them in a static way without inheritance. And then we had created this method generate report. So I will copy the code from here. All this code I have already explained, so I'm just using it in my program. So it will initialize the test object. Okay, and after initializing of the test object, I want to open the browser also. So again I will use this method. If browser equals Chrome, driver dot navigate to page factory to read the external implicit weight for adding the implicit weight. Copy and add to your current project. In the else condition I am writing. So this is, you can comment, this is for report and this is for browser. Browser launch. Okay, everything we have discussed, that only we are using logger. Right now I'm not using the logger, I'm using the report. So I'm removing the log object. Test object we have initialized above, and now we are using this test object to record our message. Okay, now after test means we have to end the or close the browser. Close browser. When the tests are executed, we have to close the browser. So when the test will start, it will open the browser with a specific URL and initialize the report and check whether we have to run this test or not. And when the test is finished, we have to close the browser. So I will write again driver dot quit to close the browser, and we have to end the report also. So if you remember, we have discussed that whenever you are opening the report, it is also compulsory to end the report. So again, I will copy it from here and write it over here. Okay. So this is a one-time code we have written in our program. Now, saving it. Now we have to, whenever we have to use the XPath, I told you we should write it in a external file. So I will, because I'm using this Amazon example only. So this XPath we have already discussed in my last lecture. What is external XPath? So I will copy it from here. So what are the external XPath? External XPath are the string variables which are static and final, and we have written all the external whatever we are doing over here. Okay, so this is the external XPath, and I told you that we have to create a hook class to map all these external XPath. So again, I will copy the hook class from my previous example and add it to my core. Now in this hook class, if you remember last time, we were calling this open browser explicitly. So if you remember, so that I can compare it, if you remember, in my previous example, I was inheriting extends hook, and then I was calling the open browser on my own. I was calling the generate report on my own. But here, when we have written this annotation at the rate before test, this method will automatically be called. No need to call this open browser explicitly like here I was calling. So it means this method is automatically called. So we do not have to define this open browser method again over here, and you can delete it. So in my hook class, I will be just mapping the external XPath. Whatever the external XPath is, we are mapping all the external XPath by @find by. Okay, so no need to write the open browser code over here because this method will be automatically called. So now in your project, you have created this page.java where you have written two annotations before test, after test. Then you have created external XPath in which you have written all the XPath, and you have created this hook class where you have mapped all the XPath, and you have inherited page over here. It is compulsory, otherwise driver object will not be available and it will give you the error. So it is compulsory that you inherit the page in your hook class. Okay, so I am closing it. Now, next thing which I require is Excel. That is, I want to read the username and password from my Excel. So again, I will copy the Excel from here, Amazon login Excel file, Control C, and I will add to my current project. This is the Excel file which I will be using. Again, it is a demonstrative example for the understanding purpose. Rest you can apply as per your choice. So I will open this Excel so that you'll come to know what is written inside it. This is the Excel file I want to use, this one, where I have user ID and passwords. And I want to pass this user ID, password, user ID, password, user ID, password. And if the user ID password is right, we will log in to our program. Otherwise, it will report the error. If the user ID is invalid, it should report it. If the password is invalid, it should report it. If it is right, then it should log in. So this is the Excel file which I want to read. Okay. So now Excel we have also added in my program. Now how to take the screenshot, because in our page.java over here we have not written any code to take the screenshot. How to connect to this Excel workbook? Again, we have not written any uh, JDBC connectivity code in my page.java. Why? Because I do not want to use the annotations with my screenshot code and with my Excel connectivity code. Because when we are passing the data through the at the rate parameters will pass the single data. And if I want to use different type of the data for different test classes, then it will be difficult for me to pass different data for different, like one is using sheet number one, another test is using sheet number two. So if I am passing the data from my testng.xml file, then I will be able to pass only one value. So that's why what we are doing. Okay, hopefully you are understanding what I'm trying to tell you. If you go to my this thing evening test ng, this one example, if you remember this one example we have done with you in my last class. So if you look at this particular program, testng.xml file, here what we have done in our testng. This is the last example I covered with you. Here what we have written this class admin test, and with admin test I was passing Amazon login as a workbook name and sheet 1 as an input. Now in when we were passing this Amazon login and sheet number 1, then it was passing this value for this admin test. And when I go to my admin test over here in this admin test, I have the two tests. One is login and another test I have is sign in test. Now whatever sign in test is having different data and login test is having different data. Both are having different data. And when I am passing from here, when I am passing Amazon login sheet number 1, so it is calling when I call this admin test at the rate test method. So what it is calling? It is calling this particular method. This method make workbook connection, and it is passing this workbook name from where? From here testng.xml, and it is also passing the sheet name. If you look at it here, it is passing the workbook name and the sheet name. So but when it is passing the data from here, workbook name and sheet number 1, so this data is fixed. It will connect to this workbook name and sheet number 1. But here if I want to use in this program, if I want to use another sheet for this test, then it will not be able to pass it, because that data will remain fixed, because it will connect to sheet number 1 only. If it is coming from another workbook, another sheet, I will not be able to pass it, because from here when we are passing the data sheet 1 admin login, so it is passing for this test. So whatever is written inside this test, that data will remain same for this particular test. Okay, so that's why it is better that instead of passing this workbook name or sheet name from here, from testng.xml file, we can create our own utility. Like here now what I will be doing, I will be creating one utility. Okay, so what I'm doing, again in src tab, baki as I told you, it is flexible. In my last class I have taken the input from, demonstrated you that you can pass the input to the method, and you can annotate the method, and you can take the input from testng.xml and open the connection. That also is working. Otherwise, in src test Java, you can create one more package and you can give the name of the package as utility. Finish. And then inside this utility, you can create a new class, say workbook, connection, any name you can give. And here you can make the public static connection con is equals to null, public static statement stm is equals to null, public static result set rs is equals to null. Okay, so these are packages coming from SQL package. And again I will copy the connectivity code from my this thing evening test ng only, which we have discussed in our previous example. Make workbook connection. Okay, now make workbook connection. Workbook name and the sheet name, again everything we have discussed. In my last example, I told you that after you are connected to the workbook and you are taking the data from the result set, you have to store the data in a two-dimension array object. So what I'm doing, I'm return instead of void, I'm making the return type as object two dimension. And here I will create a object data two dimension is equals to null. So it means we have, this is my user defined method only. Instead of void, I am returning the two dimension array object. Why? Because we have discussed in our last class that when we are reading the data from the Excel, we have to add the data in the two dimension array format. So we have read the data using the result set. Now we have discussed in this session, last session, that if result set is not equal to null, we are getting the column count, then we were getting the row count, and then we were initializing the array, and then we were retrieving the data and adding the data to the array. This is the standard code I told you. Okay, so I will copy that particular code from again from my previous example, and in the same program I will copy it. So it means we have created this utility which is connecting to the Excel workbook and getting the data from the sheet. And if sheet result set is not equal to null, we are retrieving the data from the Excel. You can check my last lecture, and storing the data. End of for, this end of for, this is end of if. So I can make it up. Okay, this is end of if, and then you have to return the data. Return data. So it is returning the two dimension array. This is end of method, and one more bracket is available, end of class. Okay. So this is the one-time code again we have written to read the data from the Excel workbook. Okay. Again, one more utility I will create is to take the screenshot. Right click, new class, say screenshot, and again I will copy the code from okay. And now because we require the driver object over here, so I will again use extends page. And when you extends page, then driver object and test objects will be inherited and we can use it. This is the same code which we have already discussed to take the screenshot. That is also we have created as a utility. So if I sum up again for you what we have done up till now, we have created a Marvin project. We have added the dependencies to my project and we have created the packages. After creating the packages, we have first created this page.java where we have written @before test method to launch the browser and to check whether I want to run this test or want to skip this test. And we have also initialized the report over here. Then after test, we'll close the browser and end the test. Again, we have created the external XPath which we want to use in my project. Then we have created the hook class which extends page. Here no need to call the open browser, which will be automatically called when we have mapped all the external XPath in my hook.java. Okay. We have added the Excel which I want to use in my project. This is my Excel. I want to use the user ID and password, different user ID and password to log in. And then we have created this utility to open the connection with the workbook and select the data from the sheet and add the data to the array and return the data. And we have specified the return type as 2-dimensional array object. And we have created a utility to take the screenshot. All these things done. Now I will come to the test cases and again right click TestNG and create a TestNG class. And I want to create a TestNG class for login, Amazon login. And here I will be using this data provider because I want to get the data from the Excel. So here I will be using data provider annotation and then finish. So now this is your Amazon login page, and because we have to launch the browser and initialize the report, so we have to inherit hook class over here, because until and unless we extend the hook class, the before test method will not be called, because whenever we call @test method, it will automatically call the before test method. Okay. Now here in my data provider annotation, at the data provider annotation, I can give the name of this method as login data, and instead of writing all this thing, what I can do, I can write simply return package name utility. Then I have created the class by the name of workbook connection, and then workbook connection. Okay, I have not created the static method, so let us make it method as static method. Otherwise, it will not be called. So I have created the method as a static. Okay. So again, I will write dot, and you will get this method make workbook connection. And in this make workbook connection, you have to pass two inputs, that is workbook name and sheet name. That's all. So this is the so if you want to do in this way, like we have done in my previous example, here you have written in my previous example test ng evening test ng. What we have done, we have written make connection, and we have written at the rate before class with it, and we have written workbook name and sheet name and at the rate parameters, and then I was passing the parameter from my testng.xml. That also is correct. Here I was passing it, but the problem with this is that if there are different tests, then you have to write the different tests separately to change the workbook name and the sheet name, because from here only single. So it means in a single test, single class will pass only, and single class will have only single one test method only. Multiple test method, if you are using multiple sheet name or workbook name, from here you can pass only single name only. So that's why, so that technique is also right. Or otherwise here we can just call it as a utility and then just pass the name. So you can check from here, we are passing the workbook name, XLS is not required, and the sheet name. So you just call this method, and this method will return the two-dimension array object. So I will pass the, it is Amazon login. Amazon login. That is a workbook name, and sheet name is sheet 1. Sheet 1. Okay. Amazon login and sheet 1. That's all. So, and it will pass the data to test method. So we have to use the name of the method in your data provider, like this login data. So it will pass the two-dimension array object, and here we can give the name of the method as login, and you can change the parameters string user username string password, and it will pass the data to this test method by reading the data from the Excel and adding to the array, and then this method will pass the data to the parameter. Just we have to add data provider is equal to login data, the name of the. Now I will again compare this particular thing with my last example so that you can understand it more clearly. If you remember here, when we have written this Amazon login last time, this method was not parameterized method. I was not passing user ID or password in login method. And instead of that, what we were doing, we were reading the data while rs.next. Select star from sheet 1. I was writing from here only. And select star from sheet 1 result set. And while rs.next, I was fetching the data from the Excel, column number 1, column number 2, and I was using directly over here. Okay, so that's because I was calling this particular SQL query and calling getting the data directly from the Excel in my login method. I was not using any parameters over here. But here we were we are getting this as a parameter value from this data provider annotation, and we are writing this Excel connectivity code here only. So that's why we are using this technique. Now again, it is not compulsory to use this data provider. If you do not want to use this data provider, then you do not have to take this parameter also. And again, you can write same SQL query extends hook, and you can simply write over here while rs.next, and you can get the data. Same process you can do. So it's not compulsory to write data provider annotation. If you do not want to write data provider annotation, you can remove. Then you have to remove this variables also, parameters also, and you can write inside this method connectivity code and while rs.next, and you can work on it. Okay, now it depends upon you as you want to do. So now again I will copy the code from here. Generate report automatically called, no need to do. Make workbook connection I have already called. Result set I have already called. Open browser already called. So just you have to click on this sign in dot click, which is the external XPath. So I will copy from here and then sorry, and I will write over here sign in dot click. Then after clicking on sign in dot click, uh, we can use this test dot log to report. Okay, so you can write over here test. So test object is also available because we have inherited hook, and hook is inheriting Java. So test object is available. Username, password. Then UID clear, send keys, continue button. If error message is coming, take a screenshot. Otherwise, enter the password. If error message is coming, take a screenshot, and then if it is valid, then okay. So we have taken this copy and paste it over here. Same logic. Okay. Now you can check whatever the things are giving the error. User ID. All these are coming from the external hook.id. Na? Then username, then click. We are not generating the log, so I will remove it, but we are generating the report. So report object you can use. Then driver.navigate back ki jagah I will write driver.navigate to, and where I want to navigate to https www.amazon.in. That is, if the user ID is failing, then it will generate this log, and again I have to enter the user ID again. So if the user ID is valid, it will go to the password. Otherwise, I have to go back and click on the sign in. So I copied it, the URL. Because every time we pass the data to the test method, at the rate test method will be called every time. I told you. Okay. So that's why now again this is utility. package dot screenshot, just a second, utility dot screenshot dot take screenshot. Okay, so this is the package name, class name, take screenshot. Similarly, password, enter the password, submit. Log we do not want to generate, remove it, and then again we will copy it, invalid. Driver dot navigate to, go back, no need to click on this sign in again. And if it is valid, we have to create the boolean value. Then we have to create the boolean value, public static boolean login is equals to false. And if it is successfully login, then it will make it true. And again we have to take the screenshot. So we have created this login method, and now similarly again I have to create this a new test case for this shopping. Again, go to the test cases, go to this TestNG, create TestNG class, and you can give the name as Amazon Shop. Amazon Shop. If you do not require data provider, no need to edit. Before and after methods are not written in test case. Click on finish. Now same process. If you remember my last example, for the dependent test case, I told you that in my Amazon shop, I do not want to reopen the browser again. I will not extend hook over here. But here in my previous example, if you see, from shop method, I was initializing the login. I was making the chain. That is, if you want to do the shopping, first of all, I was calling the Amazon login method. And then I was checking whether you are member or not. But here, because we are creating this TestNG annotations and we are creating the TestNG suite. So I told you TestNG suite is a combination of test classes and it runs the test classes in combination. So no need to write this constructor. So again, I will just write add the rate test method and I will give the method name say as shop only. I will give the name method as shop only and copy from here this code only. Okay. So if I am not creating any constructor, just calling the, so I copy it from here. All this code is same. Okay. So if it is true, then we have to again click search for the sunglasses. Log we are not creating, so I will remove this log. Then in searching for the sunglasses, actions class will perform the action, and then we have to take the screenshot. So again we are taking the screenshot from the utility dot screenshot dot take a screenshot, will take the screenshot, and then multiple results coming. Iterate the data, multiple elements I told you. Then if the element is this, click on the element, switch to the window, switch to the tab. I told you about switching in between the tab, and click on the product and add to the cart button and break the loop. Okay. End of if, end of while, and this is end of if. No need to call the end report because end report will automatically be called when the test will be completed. Okay. Just check the brackets, then shop and the class. Throw the exception. Okay. So basically conceptual things are same, little bit of difference which I have demonstrated. Same example we have written without annotation. Now same example I am writing with annotation. Everything I have written in front of you from A to Z, so that everything is and I comparing with the previous things also, and why we are writing the things step by step. Everything is written in front of you. Now I have to create the test suite. For creating the test suite, select the project folder, right click, go to this TestNG, convert to TestNG, which will create this testng.xml file. This file is created testng.xml. Copy this testng.xml and paste it inside the resources, like here. Delete it from here. Okay. Now in this testng.xml, this test class, okay, and two classes are mapped: Amazon login, Amazon shop. Now we have to add the parameters with it. Parameter name is equals to value is equals to. Okay. Parameter means I have to pass this value to this parameter browser. So it will take the data from the XML browser. Value Chrome. Then the parameter is URL and the value is this URL. Then parameter is parameter browser URL report name. Report name. Say Amazon shop. Oh, okay. And now say one more. One more parameter we have to pass is key. Report name and then key. So it is compulsory to pass all the parameters. And key I want to pass is true. That is I want to run this test. So it means we have passed this value Chrome, URL, report name, key true, and these are the two test cases which will be run in combination. Let us execute this one. Run this testng.xml file, right click, run as testng suite. First data is entered. Second data is entered. It means it is reading the data from the Excel. Then third data is entered. It has clicked, but I think some internet connection is, I think some internet problem. Let me check internet connection. Internet connection is fine. I will rerun it. Maybe some internet issue was there. Okay. Now it has been logged in. Okay. Test is running. Okay. Now second test will run. Okay. Second test is also executing. And your complete test, both the test in combination has been executed. Okay. And if you look at this reports, refresh. Okay. So both the test has been executed. And if you look at the report is generated. If I look at this screenshots are also generated. If I open this report to check, so you can open this report and you can check that combined report is generated. Browser open, testing this user ID, and then it is giving me the message that it is invalid. Screenshot taken. Then again second data it is sending. Then it is saying password is incorrect. And then again its screenshot is taken. Then again it is saying user ID and password login success. Screenshot taken. Then searching sunglasses, screenshot taken. So it means complete report for both the test cases are generated before test, after test. And similarly, if I look at screenshots, so all the screenshots, that is invalid password screenshot is taken, your login successful is taken screenshot, it has taken the search result screenshot. So all the project related screenshots are taken. In the same example, just for the understanding, in the same example, say now what I want to do, when I want to go to amazon.in and say I want to click on this sign in. First of all, I will click on this sign in. Okay. And after clicking on sign in, I want to click on this need help here. And in need help, say I want to click on this forget password. This one. Okay. And I want to run this test for the forget password. Previous test was for the login, and then after login I was doing the shopping. But here what I want to do, that is I want to click on this sign in, and after clicking on sign in, I do not want to write my email ID. Instead of that, I want to click on this need help, and then I want to click on this forget password here. Okay. Or I can copy this link directly. This one, forget password. I would directly want to go to this forget password. For example, Control C. Now for that particular thing, again, if I create this testng.xml and I create another test. Now you see, I am creating another test. Test name is equals to forget, like this. And then I will create classes, classes. Okay. And inside the classes, I will create a class, a new class, because here these two tests were used for login and shopping. But now I want to run a separate test. Say package name is test cases, and I want to create a test for Amazon forget password. So the class test cases, and now this is a separate test. For this test, we have written this parameter. Okay. So similarly, for this test, we have to write the parameter also, because whenever this class will be called, it will automatically call before test method. Now before test method will be called for this test, and before test method will be called for this test. So it is compulsory to pass the parameters for this test also. So I will copy the parameters from above. Okay, like this. Now here I want to open the Chrome browser, but the URL I want to copy is this URL, this one. It is a very lengthy URL, but I will just copy it so that I can directly come to this page. And now I want to open this URL. So here, this is a different scenario. So I have to open the browser again, like this. So it will, now I want to create a report by the name of Amazon forget. And if I write true here also and here also, then both the test will execute. Otherwise, if I do not want to run above test, then I will make the above test as false. So now you do not want to run this above test, you want to run this below test, you can make the above test as false. So I will write false. Now this test is true, so this test will run only. Okay. So now I will just make a demonstrative one class. So again, in your test cases, right click, new, sorry, here, testng, create a testng class, and I will create the testng class by the same name, which I have given over here, Amazon forget pwd. Amazon forget pwd. Okay. Amazon forget pwd. Amazon forget pwd. As required data provider, click it, otherwise do not click it, just keep it as it is. Click on finish. Here, because it is a new test again, so, and we have to launch the browser, so again I will write extends hook. Now it will extend the hook. I will write forget. Okay, and simply what I want to write this mobile number, so I will inspect this element, input type email. Okay, I think it is the same. Input type is equal to email, and id is equal to app underscore email. I think this is the same text which we have taken. Let me check in my external XPath. Okay, it is the same. You can check from here. It is the same, app underscore email, same. Okay, this is the same, that is app underscore email. Okay, and then continue. You can check from here, id is equal to continue. Id is equal to continue, same. So I can use this only, uid and continue button. So I will use this only, uid dot send keys. If you want to take it from the Excel, same process. Otherwise, you can hard code it. And then continue. CTN BTN. CTN BTN dot click. Okay, just writing this much only. I want to demonstrate it, that if this is a separate test, then what you can do, you can again launch the browser and you can again write a separate test like this, and you can then pass the different parameter for this, and you can skip one test and run this test. If you want to take the screenshot, you can take the screenshot, that is utility dot screenshot dot take screenshot, say Amazon forget. And lastly, if you want to add the test dot log, log status dot say pass any message, whatever the message is, forget, whatever you want to write. So again, I'm running the same program. TestNG.xml, run as TestNG suite. Error copper. Let us run. Run as TestNG suite. Just a second. Cannot find class in class path Amazon login. Just a second. Test start, test name, say login, test start, parameter, classes, class start, class close, class start, class close, classes and test end. Then again, test name is equal to forget, test start, test close, parameter name, class. Okay, class is not ended, that's why it was giving the error. Yes, see, class is started, but we have not closed the class. That was the error. Okay, class is start, class is close, then we have to class is name, class close we have not done. Okay, let us rerun it. So you can check if there is an error in testng. So you can check, maybe we are missing something in my testng.xml file. So let us run it again. Amazon login email से classes class name is equal to Amazon login Amazon shop test cases test forget. Just a second. Let us make it true first, then check. Just a second. अच्छा अच्छा, इसलिए error दे रहा है. Okay. Why it is giving the error? It is giving the error because here in this URL, this URL which we have copied. So here we are using this percentage etc. Here percentage etc. we are using now. So which it is not supporting. So okay, no problem. Then what we will do, I will write up to this one, because this particular URL is using percentage and etc. So that's why it is giving the error. So now we have to little bit modify it. That is, if we are want to run this program, then we have to first go to this Amazon, then we have to click on this sign in, and after that we have to click on this need help. and then we have to click on this forget password. So first of all, we have to click on this sign in dot click. After that, we have to click on this help dot click, and then we have to click on this forget dot click. Help dot click, forget dot click. And in my hook class, let's try to run it now. यार क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है इसमें? अमेज़न लॉगिन क्यों नहीं हो रही उसे? अमेज़न लॉगिन तो है. Let us remove and then check. Just a second. I will generate this testng.xml one time more. Tell you okay, I will check some error is coming, why it is coming. I will check it and give you this and in the next session what is the problem coming. Okay, so we'll keep up to here. Now you can see that in my testng.xml file I have added two tests. One test I have added the two dependent classes, that is login and shopping, will run together, and I have created another test, forget test, in which I want to run the forget password test. Okay, now if you want to run both of them, then you can change the key to the true, then both of the test cases will get executed, and if you make it false, then the key value will be passed to this before test as a false key uh, in my before test here. In my before test, it will be passed as a false key, and the test will be skipped from here only, and it will execute forget test only because we have created a true. Previously, uh, it was not able to locate the class file in my class path. That was the error coming. So what I have done, I have restarted the Eclipse, and again we have clicked on the project and create a build project, which has built my project, and now it is running successfully. So if I'm running the same project which I have explained you, all the things are same, and I'm rerunning it, then you will check, you will see that it will execute the forget test only, it will not execute the login test. Okay, so this one test is executing, only forget test is executing. And now, for example, again I go to this testng.xml and I say that I want to run first test also, this one. Then you can make this key to the true, and if you do not want to run, you can make it false, otherwise you can make both of them true. When you make both of them true, both the tests will execute. It means these two tests and this test, all the tests will execute. Let us try to execute again. The first test is executed, it is not skipped, and we are passing the data through the Excel. Okay, now first test is the first class of the test number one, login is executed. Now it will go to the shopping, that is the second class of first test. Okay, the sunglasses are executed, and add to the cart is adding the data to that to the cart. So this is the first step, and now it is executing your change password test. So both the tests are executing. So now you can watch this complete video and you can try by yourself. Hopefully you understood the concept of TestNG annotations and how we can use it in our project. Thank you.